Good morning, good people. You meet with Nani Dayati here. I'm going to explain how to handle coronavirus. The corona must be treated with the lockdown. The others say that it must be only treated with social distancing according to the people. Like all these two things are generally applied to somebody. Coronavirus is not just another virus. The novel coronavirus or SARS-CoV-2 and the disease it causes, COVID-19, is extremely deadly and is transmittable between humans, beings, or even from the remains of victims. More than 1.5 million Indonesians may contract the disease without serious measures being deployed to break the cycle of the virus, without adequate supplies or personal protective equipment, or without sound medical services. You can potentially catch the virus by simply holding a door handle previously touched by an infected person. If after that you touch your nose, mouth, or eye, the virus will find access to your respiratory system. This is why washing hands, as everyone should know by now, is key to avoid the transmission of the virus. You have to get used to a new social habit. Carry soap or hand sanitizer with you wherever you go. Here, wearing a face mask is another effective way to prevent infections. When you are in a public place or in a meeting with other people, like for example, Japan is able to minimize COVID-19 transmission because its citizens love wearing face masks when they're going outdoor. A face mask protects you from droplets when people around you cough or sneeze. Many countries have waged war for the coronavirus due to its rapid transmissions, high fatalities, and severe economic impacts. Indonesia has now joined the global fight against coronavirus. Like in any other type of war, citizens must follow the commander, focus on a single goal, and fight together to defeat the enemy. But it's going kind of complicated when the citizen do not follow the instruction from the commander or the chief, the president or the head of the countries. The government should take a more aggressive approach in leading all the countries' available resources to engage in some crucial efforts. First, to break the cycle of COVID-19 at all costs. Second, to increase hospital capacity in handling infected persons, especially patients in critical conditions, not in a health one. The healthier one can just isolate themselves at their homes. Third, to prevent a further decline in people's purchasing power, like you panic buying and try to gain everything. You need to consider the other people who can only buy not all things that they need. So you have to hold the people or citizens must hold themselves for not having panic buying. Any citizen, no matter who, must realize that we are all in the same boat. If one gets into trouble, they will have an impact on the other people on the boat. Everyone must make a contribution to defeat the coronavirus according to their expertise and ability. If you, for example, are a medical actors, then you can just directly treat the sick people. But if you are outside of these medical actors, you can just contribute to whatever you can. For example, you can just be a volunteer, or you can donate some money, or at least the least thing you can do is not just listen to your government's order and not try to avoid them, or ignore them. Here, even the government's officers have to, you know, follow these instructions. By every time some of them are not working from home, especially for public services. So every time they go to the office, they have to be sprayed by this disinfectant. But this disinfectant should not touch the skin. Yeah. Right now, the government has not imposed a lockdown to break the cycle, considering the characteristic of our people. President Joko Widodo, or Jokowi, opted to order a large-scale social or physical distancing policy, locally abbreviation as PSBB. You know, PSBB is physical. What is PSBB called? Saya malah lupa ya. Okay, to be implemented strictly. If it doesn't work, the government will declare a civil emergency. PSBB and civil emergency. President Jokowi announced the government had decided to implement large-scale social distancing to be accomplished by a civil emergency. The following day, he issued a government regulations on the acceleration of COVID-19 mitigation to get the policy into force. Not only just suggestion, but nowadays it's becoming a forcing. Like, you have to wear mask every time you go outside. There is a blockade in some of the areas, and of course the curfew, the maximum hour when you can go outside at night. He also issued a presidential declare on public health emergency related to COVID-19. Both regulations state that COVID-19 is a disease that poses threat to public health and must be handled according to its regulations. The government also issued a regulation in lieu of law or Perpu on state financial policies and financial system of more than 3% of the GDP will be used to handle these problems. This flexibility applies only during the COVID-19 emergency and its recovery period, which spans until the end of 2022. Therefore, the Cuti Bersama also has been delayed until the end of year in December. Cuti Bersama for Idul Fitri. In combining coronavirus and easing its economic impact, the government is allowed to take cash from surplus in certain budgets. Social funds, education funds, funds raised by public services agencies, and parts of its participating interest in state-owner enterprise. The government might also issue recovery bonds for private companies, as sales individuals, and the central bank as leader of the resort. The government regulations on large scale of social distancing effectively rules out of any plan for a nationwide lockdown. President Jokowi stressed that regional government aren't allowed to impose policies that contradict the central government directives. So the local government cannot having the policy that contradict with the central government. Social distancing imposes restriction on many aspects of life in affected regions to prevent the spread of COVID-19. To declare it, a regional government must get a permit from the health minister. Not a single district has received approval from the health minister until Thursday. Okay, there are still other articles, but I think I'll just stop here. The thing that I want you to pay attention to or to underline is that once you finished, you have to have the coherence, coherent article that you want to pick from the first slide Oh, I stop this first.